Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see everybody come out on this lovely rainy day. Mr. Arthur Gardner is going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. National anthem.
Please join me in the national anthem and then our pledge to the flag. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed after the twilight's last gleam, whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we marched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red flag above thirsty in air gave blue through the night, and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of our brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tom West has our invocation.
Let us pray with prayer. All that heaven is Rotarians, may all our actions lead us to have peace of mind, so that we may spread peace in the world. May our own friendliness help spread happiness to all we meet. May our health be such that we can help others less blessed. May our business life flourish so that we may spread its benefits to those less fortunate. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Tom. Terry Duffy, MA Rotary.
All right, thank you very much, Brother Josh. Hope everybody's safe and doesn't have any property damage. We had more than rain. So great. Super Bowl. Anybody watch the Super Bowl last night? Everybody watch the Super Bowl last night? Anybody have a favorite commercial? You know, me being in advertising, so you know I was glued to those ads. Anybody have a favorite commercial last night? Yeah, what?
I like the Kawasaki commercial where all the guys get mellows.
Yeah. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Don't make that. Anybody else have a favorite commercial? You got, sir?
What about the girls in sports?
The girls in sports. What about that touch key?
Well, I just thought it was, you know, a good promotion.
Okay.
I also like he gets us.
Okay, I like that. Did y'all see the one about foot washing?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You know, I don't know, you know, because I moved down here. I've been here so long, but that was a big thing up in North Georgia when I was a kid growing up in North Georgia. I remember my grandparents, they'd have foot washings at church. I don't know if y'all do that down here, but anyway, if you get a chance and you didn't see it, go back and look at it online. I even pulled it up this morning and looked at it a couple of times. The photographs that they had in there were so dramatic. I got to find out who made those pictures because they were just absolutely off the chain dramatic and everything. But, you know, I thought that was really good. You know, Jesus doesn't hate, you know, he washed feet. He gets us. He gets all of us. And I thought that was very, very good marketing and just a perfect ad to have in front of an audience. But anyway, next thing we got is Valentine's Day. And that's coming up. So make sure you do something for the ladies. By the way, ladies, happy Valentine's. Y'all are all so special. We appreciate you. I got to share this when I was in Enterprise years ago. I was pumping some gas and a friend of mine drove up to another pump over there, and it was near Valentine's Day. And he said, "How's everything going?" And I said, shit, man, everything's made for love, like that. And this elderly gentleman was over pumping gas in a thing. I can't do it quite the way he did it. Ain't no love. You ought to met my first wife. I don't know what he lived with, but it wasn't good. Anyway, let's get started here. Birthdays, we got a bunch of them. Mr. John Watson's birthday's today. I guess he's out celebrating. Brandon Hurst on the February 13th. Nobody on the Valentine's Day. George Flowers. George, you're not looking over. February 17th. Robert Stinsland, the 19th. And we've got the trifecta going on the 20th. Marcus County, Stephen Crow, and Davis Flowers. One anniversary to celebrate, and not on Valentine's Day. Scott Childers and Charlotte on February 24th. Hope you all have a great week. Thank you.
Speaking of Scott Childers, I'll invite him up now to introduce our guests. Don't forget that anniversary.
Right, so we're happy to welcome our guests, this areas today. I call your name, please stand up. We've got, Fran Lamatina, guest of Walter Hill, Laura Bruce, guest of the club, and Carrie Lofton, guest of Carrie Black.
She's behind.
Oh, thank you.
This day, Cape Pasco drawing, Brad Parrish. All right, that pot's getting up there, 3,493 points. Last score, 7-0, 8-1. All right, Alan. Winner.
Oh.
9 diamonds.
Bill's on.
All right, since you stood up, Mike Azar, before you pour your cup of coffee, I'm gonna ask you and Sheila to come forward. I'm sorry to delay your coffee break. As they come forward, I think I speak for our whole club in saying that the Azars worked extremely hard on all things Rotary. So we have a certificate to appreciate them. They worked very hard over the last few months, the last couple of years on our website, and also our payment system. We've changed some things up here recently in terms of collecting payment and everything, and they have put in hours of work onto that system. So just want to say thank you to them, and thanks for being great Rotarians. Thank you, Azars. All right, this time I'd like to call Bob Rudder up. He has an announcement to make.
Thank you, John. Exemplary, serving as a desirable model, representing the best of its kind. The Paul Harris Fellow recognition acknowledges individuals
who contribute or who have contributions made in their name of $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation. There are no explicit guidelines for selection of the Paul Harris Fellow, but generally it's understood that Paul Harris Fellow recognition is one of the highest honors in Rotary. The recognition is bestowed upon individuals who, by their life actions, have made substantial contributions to the betterment of society, and they subscribe to the motto of service above self. It's just statement exemplary. We at the Dothan Rotary Club have a long history of participation in Paul Harris recognition. We have 176 Paul Harris Fellows. Multiply that by 5,000. We have 52 Paul Harris Fellows plus 1. We have 25 Paul Harris Fellows plus 2. We have 18 Paul Harris Fellows plus 3. We have 8 Paul Harris Fellows plus 4. We have 1 Paul Harris Fellow plus 5. We have 3 Paul Harris Fellows plus 6. We have 2 Paul Harris Fellows plus 7. We have 3 Paul Harris Fellows plus 8. Multiply that by 1,000, see what you come up with. Because each one of those pluses is another 5. We got a rich history here at the Dothan Rotary Club. I've known today's recipient for all his adult life and most of his youth. I was in a hotel room in Montgomery, staying on the 2nd floor, and this hotel had a big atrium out front. And his wife and I were walking out the door. I heard this piano player playing Elton John. Well, that's good. And I could just walk right over to the side, just on the 2nd floor. You could talk to everybody down there. I looked over the edge, and there was today's honoree sitting at the bar playing beautiful music and being rewarded with tips from the patrons. The unusual part of this is he's only 10 years old at this time. But I did see his dad sit down there keeping an eye on things as he ventured into this area of calculating. I knew as Paul Harris Fellow graduated from Dothan High School with honor. He attended the University of Alabama on a presidential scholarship and graduated with a degree in finance, summa cum laude. He enrolled into the University of Alabama Law School and graduated in 2014. He is admitted to the practice of law in Alabama and all 3 federal districts of Alabama, and is a member in good standing of the Alabama State Bar. He's a gifted concert pianist. He studied classical piano in high school and actually took courses at FSU. I'd like to ask our U.S. Paul Harris Fellow to join me down front, Cal. We have to come on down. Jim. God.
Now, the presentation of the Paul Harris Fellow is the Rotary Foundation's way of expressing its appreciation for a substantial contribution to its humanitarian educational programs. This honor is named for Rotary's founder, Paul Harris, who started Rotary in 1905. In order to become a Paul Harris Fellow, a person must contribute $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation's annual fund, Polio Plus, or an approved foundation grant. Cal, it is because of gifts like yours that the Rotary Foundation is able to carry out an array of programs that achieve beneficial changes in our world. In becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, Cal Whaley joins a remarkable company of persons throughout the world, all recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. Paul Harris once said, "He who tries to find the good in others will be rewarded, for others will surely find the good in him. Of all the earth's sad and lonesome creatures, the most helpless is he who loves not his fellow man." Cal, at this time, Bob Rutter will present you with the Paul Harris certificate and pin. We congratulate you. We congratulate you and we thank you for your commitment to the programs of the Rotary Foundation. Rotarians, please join me in recognizing Cal Bailey. All right, at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Karen Walton to come forward and introduce today's guest speaker.
Good afternoon. I am here today representing iCenter South. In my role at iCenter South, I work with Dr. Marnix Hearsing. Those of you who know Dr. Hearsing know of his involvement in community activities and his philanthropic work, and of his association with UAB. I'd like to also thank Tara Black for inviting us out today. And I'm here to introduce our guest speaker, Ms. Teresa Shufflebarger. Teresa is a career healthcare executive who has worked in multiple hospital systems. She's focused her efforts on business and service line development and strategy creation and deployment. She began her career with Baptist Health System, where she worked in various roles of increasing responsibility, including inpatient and outpatient operations, business development, physician recruitment, and strategic planning. In 2019, she founded a strategy and management consulting firm, Allegro Partners LLC, that was dedicated to promoting meaningful, interactive, and collaborative partnerships between executive leadership, governing boards, and key constituents. In 2021, Teresa accepted the position of Chief Administrative Officer of Live Health Smart Alabama, a health initiative funded by UAB to reduce the incidence of chronic disease in Alabama. And that's what Teresa is here to speak with us about today. Fostering over 100 public and private partnerships, Live Health Smart Alabama is addressing food access, preventative health screenings, physical activity, and education to support making good health simple. Under her direction, Live Health Smart Alabama has opened a mobile food market, which has fresh produce, meat, dairy, and pantry stables to over 7,000 residents in 25 food insecure communities. They have a mobile wellness van that's been an anchor to preventative health strategy and easy, accessible free health screenings. When not working, Teresa focuses on being with her family and friends. She enjoys cooking, hiking, kayaking, and yoga. And if you would now welcome to Ms. Teresa.
Thank you for the opportunity to, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It's on.
It's on?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
It's on.
Might need to have it. That's okay, I'm kind of a pacer anyway. So standing behind a podium would be hard for me to stand still. Also think that if I ever had to tie my hands behind my back, I might not speak. So, given all that, thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm not often on this in the podium. I'm usually sitting out here. I am also a Rotarian, so I appreciate all the work that you and fellowship that you have here, and enjoy that myself in Birmingham. Thank you for your kind introduction here, and Tara for hosting today. Live Health Smart Alabama started in 2019, answering the call of Dr. Ray Watts. He's the president of UAB. And what he put forth to the UAB community was, we have problems that impact all of Alabama. And I want to challenge the UAB community to first identify it, and then second, solve for it. That challenge came with seed funding, and the inaugural Grand Challenge winner was Live Help Smart Alabama, led by Dr. Mo Fawed, a 30-year veteran of UAB, who had focused on health and health disparities throughout Alabama and the Southeast in her career. And so what Live Help Smart Alabama identified, he told me I had to. So a lot of things that you will know. So what it identified was that in Alabama, we oftentimes race to the bottom, whether it's in stroke, it's in cardiac health, it's in obesity or diabetes, in large measure because we also don't do those things that might help us, like be physically active or consume fresh fruits or fresh vegetables. And so we have an opportunity, and as an example, I'll tell you that in Alabama, 14% of us have diabetes. That's second only to West Virginia. 1 in 3 of us is obese. Over 40% of us have either or both high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So you see the opportunity that is available. And if we focus on these, we picked these particular chronic diseases because there's a bright line between the disease and a way to solve for the disease. You could say chronic heart disease is also a chronic disease, and it is. It's so multifactorial. But if you think about obesity, blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol, really are things that you can do, we can do to make ourselves healthier. Where we are last or next to last in many, many different indicators, health indicators, where we're first is in lost productivity because of chronic disease. $60.2 billion at the peak. And it's such a big number that it's hard to get your head wrapped around it. But that is 1 year of lost productivity in Alabama. The number you can put your head around is 9,100. So as an employer, for every employee you have who has a chronic disease, it costs you $9,100 a year. So just do that. And there are 5 million of us in Alabama, just as a point, let's keep our mind there. So that means that, sitting around here today, 7 to 10 people that you know will have a chronic disease. If we could be better at addressing chronic disease, we could save 23,000 lives each year. And so you see the problem that has been framed. You see the opportunity that's been framed. But that's a really big charge. And so what Live Help Smart Alabama does, I'm going to mention 2 different things. One, we look at policy, systems, and environment. So that's the overall umbrella. What policies, what rules, whether they're state or city or in your company, in a school, in a university, what rules prevent you from being healthy or don't help you to be healthy? So how we make changes in those policies that support people making healthy decisions. Also, we look at systems. So systems is kind of a weird one, but how do systems support you? It might be a food delivery system. Do you have access to good nutrition? It might be a healthcare system. Do you know how to get the appropriate healthcare from the appropriate place at the right time? And the environment. And it's not one that you think of often in a health initiative, but the built environment supports good health in so many ways. Do you have sidewalks? Are they in good repair? Do you have lights that allow you to go out after dark? Do you have green spaces? So the built environment really can make a difference. Mona Fawad is the leader of Live Help Smart Alabama, and she has often said, if there is a problem in a community, the solution's there. And so while I'm going to talk to you today about what we've done in Birmingham, what I want to encourage you to be thinking about is how do we do this? How are we here? Because the steps that we put in place are beginning to show change. And Dr. Hearsing, who Karen has already referenced, was in Birmingham with Dr. Watts they were talking about Live Health Smart Alabama, and he said, we need this in Dothan. We need to be in Dothan doing this because good health is important. This, you can't see, it's an eye chart, but what this is, these are logos. And what I talked to you about was UAB started and seed funded this, but even as the largest employer in the state, we can't and we shouldn't do it by ourselves. Good health is important to UAB, but good health is important to each of you here. These right here are logos of organizations in Birmingham who banded together to say, good health is important to us, it's important to our employees, it's important to our community, and we want to work together under this common goal. So these are corporations, but also Alabama is a very philanthropic state. We give often and frequently. These are nonprofits who are also partners in the work that we do. Because when you think about nonprofits as they are looking for funding, there is unlimited funding for any nonprofit. If you can begin to identify common goals and nonprofits work together, it extends the mission of both, but it also extends the resources of both. You are able to be more effective with limited resources if you work together. So one of the most important things you'll hear me say today, after good health is important, is the importance of partnerships. It's the importance of identifying and supporting that common goal, which is reducing the incidence of chronic disease in Alabama so that we are a healthier state, but that we are doing it together. Partnerships are important. This is another eye chart. I thought I was going to have a big screen. I actually like this better because then nobody's like swiveling their chair around to be able to see what's going on. But this is the built environment. I spoke just briefly about the built environment, but it's foundational. And so these numbers here, we partner with construction companies, with Alabama Power, with corporate community, with the nonprofit community, and we started in 4 communities. We identified 4 communities who were economically challenged. So the poverty rate between as little, and this is not little, as little as 25%, but as high as 60%. And so remember, I told you that in Alabama, 14% of us have diabetes. In these communities, it was 25%. I told you 1 in 3 of us is obese. In these communities, it was half. And so what you see is that economic challenges exacerbate health challenges. But economic challenges also come with its own other issues to consider. And so when you think about a health initiative, do you think about starting with sidewalks and lights? Probably not. Why aren't we talking about blood pressure? Well, you can't get attention around blood pressure if you're not safe, if you're not able to engage in your community. Sidewalks are important. It's how children get to school. Sidewalks are important. It's where your child rides their bike. Lights are important because right now it gets dark at like 5 o'clock. So all of those, having green spaces where you can throw a baseball to your child, where your family can grill out together, where you can have community, those are important foundational aspects. So in Birmingham, we started there. We started in the built community. I won't go through this because this represents about $2 million worth of investments in sidewalks, ramps, crosswalks, light fixtures, trees, and we'll talk about trees in a minute, and bus shelters. But what I am going to talk about, if you look up in the top right-hand corner, you see that little before, after. The before picture, the background is a housing development. Around that tree line is an elementary school. So what happened every single morning is that children would leave the housing community and walk to school. But what happened is all that overbrush and overgrowth and the sidewalks were broken. They popped down into that street, which is a 4-lane highway, by the way. They popped down into that street to get around that to get to the elementary school. What we did in partnership with construction companies and others was reroute, that's the bigger picture on the right, reroute that sidewalk so that it was a continuous sidewalk, move the brush, move the fencing, all of that. The day we poured the concrete, the principal sat out there and cried. She said, every day I have been fearful that a child would be hurt or killed getting to our school. So what you see is that built environment can change lives. And once you can begin to really interact with the community, you can start to talk about other issues. I said I was going to talk about trees. These trees, over 250 trees, 8 neighborhoods, 65 hours. This was Rotary. This was Birmingham Sunrise Rotary who said, we believe in what we can do to impact good health. We're very involved in the built environment. We want to see green spaces for families. And so on 8 different work days, groups of Rotarians were out in rain and cold and heat, and well, they don't let us plant too many trees in heat, but rain and cold for sure. Where they planted over 250 street trees. It was a gift of over $30,000 to these communities. So as you're thinking about how does this happen in Dothan, think about how does it happen with our Rotary. Karen mentioned our mobile grocery. Mobile grocery has served over 7,000 customers. It looks like a grocery store. It has fresh fruits and vegetables. It has dairy. It has meat. There are pantry staples, canned goods, oatmeal, cereal. What it does, though, is goes into food deserts. We started in 4 communities. We're now in 25. Every one of them are food deserts. A food desert means you cannot get to a grocery store within a mile of you. A lot of people in these communities are walking to the grocery store because transportation is efficient for them. And so we are in those 25 communities on a regularly scheduled basis, which means you can begin to depend. We have over 50% of our sales are SNAP double bucks of federally funded programs. What that tells us is we know we're getting to a community in need. 42% of the sales are produce. Remember, one of the things we wanted was good nutrition. And so that is, that tells us that we're able to provide healthy food choices. But there are other partnerships. So we partnered with local chefs to host cooking demonstrations. I've got all this fresh produce, so what do I do with it now? I have chicken. If you don't like fried chicken, but it's healthier for you when it's baked. So how are we teaching people to cook healthy? Outside when you leave, there are 3 different menus, 3 different recipes. They were developed in conjunction with these chefs and the dietitian students at UAB. And so in these mobile markets, we have cooking demonstrations, and we show people how to cook something that's on that grocery that day that can be done in 30 minutes, is affordable, can feed your family, and it tastes good, which is important. And so we that's a partnership, another partnership you heard me talk about. We have also 25 different health-related flyers. Some of those flyers are outside. They talk about good nutrition, so how do you read a food label, as an example? What does a serving size actually mean? But they're also around physical activity and preventive health screenings. I encourage you to take a couple of those flyers. They're written at a 7th grade level. It's important to be able to communicate. And so what we're trying to do is not just give a mobile grocery, but find other ways to support and educate around good nutrition. Because eating right directly impacts obesity, which directly impacts diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. This is another picture of our mobile grocery store. You see, this is where, as we go to these communities, generally we end up with a line of people. We've had volunteers, so we have a program called 1,000 Volunteers. So we'd love for you to sign up and be one of our 1,000 volunteers. But many of these people are physically challenged, and so they need somebody to help hold the bag, get their bag to a car or to their home. We go to a lot of senior centers as well as housing communities. We have a mobile wellness van. It looks like a doctor's office on wheels. So it's got a small lab and a little bathroom and an exam room. And we're able to take that van with us as we go to preventive health screenings. About 15 minutes to do the preventive health screening. So it's height, weight, BMI, blood pressure, cholesterol, A1C, blood sugar, vision, could do vision, mental health, all risk assessments. When you get through that, about over 80% of people who go through there find out that they have an abnormal value. 80%. And about 19% of them are diagnosed in that health screening with a previously unknown chronic disease. So this is a group of people who are not every year going to the doctor to get their annual physical. I know that I'm the one who schedules my husband's annual physical, but he goes. But it's important because it's important to know your numbers. It's important to be in control of your health. It's important that you know what your numbers are and don't end up in the emergency department. That's not the right thing for the patient. It's not the right thing for the health system. It's not the right thing for the insurance company. These are not, that person is not receiving their optimal health care. And so as you look at that, you say to me, okay, so 19% of these people have found out they have a chronic disease they didn't know about. What now? We have a community coach program where we have people who live in a community, who are known in their community, who are trusted in their community. And what we do is educate them on what resources are available and how to access that. Because there's a I don't know factor to it. There's a I'm scared factor to it. And so to begin to have somebody who navigates you through, those community coaches become an important part of what our wellness is, our wellness initiatives are. So that's Birmingham. But Birmingham's not, all of 5 million people who are in Alabama. And so if we don't want to be at the bottom, which we don't, then how do we begin to extend what we're doing in Birmingham to other communities? And Dothan is right. You have so much going on here, so many things going on that are so vibrant and such a great community, that this would be, I think, a natural add to the work that y'all are already doing, the assets that you already have, the partnerships that you already have in place. And so extending across Alabama is important. We have launched in Selma. We are in discussion and have started with Demopolis and Camden. Those are 4 different communities, but they look very different. So what happens in Birmingham looks a little different in Selma, looks a little different in Demopolis, a little different in Camden, a little different in Dothan. What we have is a playbook, and so it tells us step by step what needs to happen, what partners do we need, what does the budget look like. But we know that there's flexibility built in because it will look different in Dothan than it looks in Birmingham. And we'll have so many people who know Dothan deeply who can help guide and direct that and support that, because making good health simple means that you make a healthier Alabama. Thank you for your attention. Do I have time for questions? I'd love to answer any questions that you might have.
What were the 4 communities that you identified as being among, I guess, the worst?
Okay, so this was when we started in Birmingham, so the 4 communities, no, well, they were in Birmingham, so that when we first started, we're in Birmingham, so the 2 on the west side of Birmingham and 2 on the east side of Birmingham.
Okay, so the Bessemer area.
It wasn't Bessemer, so it was Kingston, it was North Birmingham,
Okay.
and then West End area.
Okay, west.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I see Blue Cross participating anywhere. Why would Blue Cross not have the Alabama get?
They do, and I think it's about approaching with the right term. Through the Caring Foundation, they have provided some small grants as it relates to the mobile wellness. But there are several statewide employers that we are in conversation, but have not made the big ask yet, because we want to be across the state. And Blue Cross really should and will step in at that point. We do have a couple of pilots that are ongoing, and one is with Blue Cross, one is with Viva, and one is with UAB Health System. And that is, how do you connect a health system to a community? Because what happens, I mean, how many of you have heard about social determinants of health? It's a healthcare phrase. What it means is that there are things outside of healthcare that impact your health. more so than if you're in the hospital or if you're in the doctor's office. It's when you leave those places and you go home. Social determinants of health might be, I don't have proper lighting in my house and I might trip on my rugs. It might be I don't have transportation to get to the doctor. It might be I don't have childcare. It might be that I'm caring for my mother and my grandmother and my child, and I don't have enough money to pay the bills and also pay for groceries. Those are social determinants of health. And so where Live Help Smart Alabama lives is in the community. So partnerships, you are correct, are natural with an insurer, but also natural with a health system. Yes, sir. Okay, obesity is determined by a BMI greater than 30. A BMI, body mass index, of greater than 30. It's a really kind of random, if you want to know the truth, number. I'm not a doctor, I don't pay on TV, but BMI is the same for men and women. It is the same whether you are 18 or 50 or 80. And so there are other things that might help you understand obesity better than BMI. All that's kind of the recognized indicator. Waist circumference will tell you. So the CDC they have actually a better scale. They will tell you you're a man, you're this tall, your waist circumference should be this. You're a woman, you're this tall. But BMIs generally don't accept it. Yes, sir.
Is there anything that can be done with publicly traded companies going into these food deserts, popping up their brand name to really just sell snacks and chips and sugary products? Is there any way that you can partner? There was a Wall Street Journal article last week about that. But is there any way that your entity could coordinate with them, maybe have food deserts where they're actually located? Produce into their store.
So that's a touchy conversation. And I know that because I've had that with Coca-Cola. And so we have actually partnered with them on our mobile grocery to provide water and healthy snacks. They make a lot of money on Coca-Cola. And so all the conversation we have been able to have is around can we help you promote those healthier options? And they've been receptive to that. I'll tell you another partner, and we are in conversation with them, is Dollar General. Is Dollar General's everywhere?
That was the article.
Yeah, okay, so you saw it, was it the what they just did in Arkansas?
No, it just talked about DG was heading into food deserts and putting their candy and their snack products.
So DG, it says Dollar General is starting, and they have this in Alabama, although their timeline is so long. So what we've been trying to talk to them about is, as we expand and have Live Help Smart Alabama expansion zones, which Dothan, Selma, a lot of times, I'll use Selma as an example because they don't have a lot of options for groceries, but there are 5 Dollar Generals. And so when you walk into a Dollar General, if you're not really familiar with Dollar General, you walk in, and to the right, mostly in their bigger boxes, you'll see, 15 different kinds of Doritos. And off to the side is a frozen section of 5 different kinds of pizza. Their DG Market, what they are committing to is that when you first walk in, the first 15 to 20 feet, 25 feet, depending on the box size of their building, will be fresh fruits and vegetables. And so they launched this in Little Rock, Arkansas. There are some DG markets in Alabama. There's one in Choctaw County. There's one in Bessemer. Somebody mentioned Bessemer. There's one in Bessemer. So there one in Huntsville. The conversation we have been having with them is, can you speak this up? Can we help talk with city governments to give you whatever concessions are needed to get you to come in and be that fresh fruits and vegetable provider? It's tough. They're tough not to crack, but we are in conversations with them. I'll tell you also, after having worked for 2 years, I've finally gotten an audience with Walmart. So I will be speaking with their Bentonville crew in next month. Another, who can make a real difference. Any other questions? Thank you so much for your attention and your engagement.
Thank you, Teresa, for taking the trip down and being with us today. Very, very good presentation. Next week, we will not meet in observance of President's Day. So we will see everyone the following week. Thank you to all the guests that are with us today. Good to see you, and to those that helped make today's presentation, today's program possible. With that, will you please stand for the four-way test? Of the things we think, say, and do. Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill, friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Shine the light of Rotary.